All right, so video number 2 is gonna take orthographic drawing one step further. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna move my paper up a little bit. Sorry if I'm moving too much. All right, just so I have some empty space to work with. Actually, I wanna keep our dimensions. Okay. So now that I have us all set up, what I want to go ahead and do is show you how to draw out our orthographic drawing. All right. And instead of using this little figure here, I'm going to put that off to the side for right now. And basically what I want to do is in our supply bag, we have these snapping cubes. They snap apart, kind of like Legos, and they snap back together. I'm going to use this just as an example to keep things very simplistic for this first one, and then I will move back to the yellow figure to create a second example so that things get a little bit more natural as we learn a little bit more. The second thing I'm going to use today is the protractor that is in your bag. If you would like to use this or the ruler, please do so for the straight edge aspect. I grabbed the protractor just because I'm working in a little bit of a smaller space, so it's a little bit easier for me to manage. All right, I'm also going to be doing this next part in pencil. Sorry, I froze up a little bit. I'm going to be doing this next part in pencil, and then I will go over it in pen when I'm done so that we can see things a little bit better. But you may start to see that you're going to be racing a little bit as we're trying to figure this out. So if you'd like to do this in pencil along with me, please do so. All right. So here's my red block. All right. So we know that we have a front view, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this face right here that you're seeing. This is called a face. The corners are what we call edges, so I'm going to use this face as my front view. And for every cube that I have here, sorry, I'm freezing up again. For every cube that I have here, so every 1 line, 2 line, 3 lines for my cubes, I'm going to do 2 cubes on the sheet of paper, our ortho paper, just so that you can see things a little bit better. So I have 1 cube. Remember, I'm doing 2 lines, 2 cube, 3 cube, and that is going to be our width. So I'm going to go ahead and identify that right now just so we are not confused on what we are doing. All right, and then our front view also tells us that we need our height. All right, and since we just have a singular cube for the height, I'm going to go up 2 lines on both ends of my width, and I'm going to close that box, and then I'm going to label the side of my cube with the height. All right, now notice, obviously my scale is a little bit off, but notice I have my 3. If it helps you, you can draw your faint little lines here, but I have 1 cube, 2 cube, 3 cube, and there's where they kind of divide. And then I have my 1 cube as my height, which is here. Okay. Now from the front view, remember if you rotate it, you're going to be in your top view. All right, in your top view, let me back up, jumping ahead of myself. That's your front view. Okay, so now your top view looks exactly like your front view in this case because it's a rectangle. All right, so I always leave some space between my views. We'll call this, when we get to our multi-view drawings in Inventor, the gap. All right, so I'm just going to write gap here. And when I'm on my orthographic graph paper, I always like to get in the habit of leaving 2 or more lines as my gap. So I'm going to start my top view 2 lines up, And you're going to notice that the width is shared in my top view. So I'm literally just going to find the outsides of my corners from my front view and transfer those two corners straight up. You're going to notice I made little dots. You don't have to make dots if you don't want to. And I'm going to connect my two dots to create my width. My top view also has one cube, but this time it's not the height like it was in the front view, it's the depth. All right, so the top has your depth. And that is also going to be 1 cube thick. So I'm going to go back 2 lines and close that up. I'm going to label my view as the top view. And I know that my top view has the depth dimension as well as the width dimension. All right, so notice how that width dimension is transferred straight up from the front view to the top view. Okay, now the next thing that we need to do is our right side view, and our right side view is always going to fall on the right side of our front view. All right, so I'm going to come back to my front view and I'm going to stand it up on the right side view if I can. There we go. Wasn't sure how that was going to work with my peg sticking out. And now, just like we did between the front view and the top view, we need a gap. All right, I used a gap of 2 here, so I'm going to use a gap of 2 here. And I'm going to start my right side view right there. And I know my height is going to transfer over from my right side view. So this bottom part of my object is going to transfer over to here, and this top part of my object is going to transfer over right there. I'm going to connect those two. I also know that my depth is 1 unit as well, so I'm going to come over 1 unit and over 1 unit and close that object. All right, this is called the right side view. Again, I'm going to abbreviate the right with an R period. All right, so we know that this dimension here is called the depth. And how we go ahead and transfer over the depth to get from our top view to our right side view is by starting at the corner of your front view. I'm going to move this out of the way for right now. And if you go at a 45-degree angle, so if you draw a diagonal line straight through the middle of your boxes, this line right here is what we call an orthographic projection line. Orthographic projection line. Okay, and your orthographic projection line is drawn, I'm going to put like a little bullet point there, drawn at 45 degrees. Always, always, always. Okay, so there's our 45-degree angle projection line. So why we use this 45-degree angle projection line is to transfer over our depth and down, or up our depth and over. And what I mean by that is if I take this hard corner and I transfer it over to our 45-degree angle projection line, I hit the 45-degree angle projection line, and then I would transfer that depth down. Or you can grab the corner from your right side view, transfer it up to your 45-degree angle projection line, and then you would transfer it over. All right, so some drawings that we get to aren't going to be as user-friendly as this rectangle. All right, so sometimes we have missing features or pieces, and that's why we need to transfer over and down or up and over utilizing this 45-degree angle projection line. All right, and then as we know, the height of our right side also transfers over to our right side. And that is how you do an orthographic drawing.